Now live and on lockdown.
Are you ready?
Broadcasting from Edinburgh, Scotland and across the globe.
Listen here.
You're listening to Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast. For host Fraser Ramsay.
Hi, this is Afia Letha from KingdomBeats.com. Proud to be a sponsor of Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders.
Good day and welcome to another edition of Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. We have another guest, another special guest, all the way from Los Angeles, but resides in Australia, so has a bit of a back and forward going at the moment due to her career and what she does. And just to welcome you to everybody, for all the listeners, and we say thank you for all the support we get for Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. We did used to have a platform. We were utilising Heart Song Live, but for those just in case to up to date, we are now just doing the usual standard, what we did before, but there will be a new platform coming soon, so watch this space, something bigger and better, and it's a time thing. Got to plan it right, so you will be able to. You'll see something bigger happening with the Ramsay Unleashed network and platform podcast show. But my guest today is none other than Marneen Lynn Fields, all the way from California, but as I said, resides in Australia. I've had a couple of people from Australia recently. My last podcast I did, which a bit of a double whammy releasing podcast, was Sarah Taylor, who was a 16-time female bodybuilding champion, and she is from the UK but also lives in Australia. So, and I had Darren King as well, who is in Australia. So I have having a bit of an Australian connection at the moment, and on the podcast. So certainly it's been exciting having these connections. And as I say, I've gone from interviewing people in the UK to people in America, Canada, and also now Australia. So we certainly are going beyond borders, to say the least. So to welcome my guest, and big thanks to, as I say, all my sponsors, supporters. They've got KingdomBeats.com by Afia Letha. We'll have more shout outs regarding who we supports us. I want to say a big thank you to Brent Mann from BrentMannMusic.com, who connected with me with my current guest, Marneen Lynn Fields. So Marneen, welcome to Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, Ramsay. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I love your accent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So how's your day? You're obviously at the moment you're currently in LA because you're traveling. What's the reason you're in LA at the moment?
Well, now I am an American and I'm in Los Angeles a lot. It's still my life and everything, and where all of my success and good fortune has come from my entire life. But I married an Australian man, a film historian named John Harrison, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I also spend time with him in Australia, and he travels with me sometimes to Los Angeles, and I have to be in Los Angeles a lot because that's where my life is. But we met across the water, and we eloped 2 years ago, this March 19th. And we had not met in person. We were writing partners. I met him online, and he did some articles on my early career in film and television as a stunt woman and a stunt actress and actress. And we just hit it off. So I asked him to co-write my book, Cartwheels and Halos, which I hope to publish this year. And we just hit it off, and we got married. We eloped to Las Vegas. And it's just been great having John as a partner.
Fantastic. That's great news. So congratulations on a 2-year.
Thank you.
Certainly interesting how it came about. It's a stunt man or stunt woman. Very, very interesting.
Yes, for many years. And very young, I was a gymnast in college, and I got discovered by Hollywood. And I was a top Hollywood stunt woman for 15 years.
Wow.
And stunt actress. And I then ventured out into acting. And after a near fatal car accident, I lost my physical talent and underwent a series of abdominal operations. And that's when I got in touch with my true love, which was music since I was a little girl. I was a child musician, and I played multiple instruments. As a young child in elementary school, I played keyboards, string bass, and clarinet. And so once I had the car accident, I knew I would never be able to go back to doing what I was so well known for, with the very complicated and difficult high falls and high dives and fight scenes. And, I was a real stunt woman. And what my book is about, Cartwheels and Halos, is that when you're on the wrong path, God will take drastic action in your life to change your circumstances to see that you're on the right path. So for me, I did a lot of soul searching, and I always wanted to sing since I was a small child, more than I ever wanted to do gymnastics or acting or stunts. Singing was my first love. And when you hear me sing, you'll see why. That, I believe that is of all the talents that I've been recognized for, singing is the most challenging and the most wonderful experience that I have, and I really don't care to do anything else, but I do many things.
That's great. Well, so let's start off with we've got a rough idea of where you are now and what you're doing. Tell it, for those who are going to be listening in the audience, tell us a bit about life growing up. Were you born in LA, or were you born in a different part of America? And what was life like growing up? And when did all the, regarding your healing, when did that start to kick in regarding affecting your life? And how was life in general for you?
Oh, okay. Well, I was born in Minot, North Dakota, and I was born with emphysema and enlarged heart, and I wasn't expected to live to be 5 years old. But by 9 years old, we had moved to California, and I grew into my heart. It was a very unusual situation, and it can happen sometimes in children where they're born with emphysema and they can overcome it. And I just happen to be one of those rare cases. We might be hearing an airplane or something going by for a minute there. Okay. So I wasn't allowed to go out and play with all the other children when I was young and in kindergarten and all of that. And it had a very bad impact on my life. So once I was able to start going outside and play, I was, I kind of, if I summarized my entire life, it would be a life of someone who felt they were fighting for their life most of their life. Starting there at birth, I would just remember chest x-rays being very, very small and always being on the x-ray table. And my dad and my brother was quite an athlete. My older brother, 1 year older than me, and his name was Bobby Fields. And my dad and my brother, they would make me the pickle outside and take me outside every weekend. And I got really, really fast because they would never let me throw the ball. I always had to run the bases while they played catch, and I could never win. And they would laugh at me, and I would try and try and try. Well, they made me super fast, and I became a really, not only a multi instrumentalist as a child, but also an amazing athlete. And so I was like a very well-known little softball all-star in elementary school that was in the paper every week. And I was the fastest little kid in elementary school. And I've always had a really busy and really active life. By the time I was in second grade, they thought that I was a child prodigy in math. And so I was going to the high school and doing algebra with the high school kids before I go to school in the mornings. So my life was also not only one of these bizarre things happening that almost took my life, that I've had to fight for continually through the years, but also this incredible discipline. And, here I was in second grade going to the high school doing algebra in the morning before I went to all my other classes. And then they wanted to skip me second and fourth grade. So the reason I mention the math thing is that it takes a lot of math to be a composer, which I am today. And I've worked very hard, to be a composer. So I had this athletic childhood, and as a young kid, as I was doing all this softball and stuff, I also became very interested in gymnastics. And other children in the neighborhood would line the block as I walked my hands. They would count, and I would make it around the block walking on my hands while they were walking on their feet. And it was just, so they were always challenging me, and everyone always expected a tremendous amount from me. And so I started taking gymnastics lessons and got, really good. And, they also would bet on me that I could beat all the kids in the neighborhood in foot races. And little me, I was really little, and I would beat everyone because my brothers and dad had trained me to be this incredible, fast and competitive. So then in junior high school, I won the President's Physical Fitness Award, first place in the school of all of the children, and consider, athlete of the year. And I entered my first talent show doing gymnastics that year. Well, by the time I got to high school, I was head of my high school pep squad and head of the gymnastics team. And my junior year in high school, right before I became a senior, I won most talented cheerleader at the Southern California cheerleader camp, which, so that's when I started winning the awards in the track meets and the gymnastics. Then I won that. Then upon graduation, I was one of 3 women in the United States to win an athletic scholarship in gymnastics, because that was 1973, and they didn't give athletic scholarships to women back then. But that same year, at 18 years old, I had a boyfriend in high school, and we went to the beach one night, and I came home and I was really sick, and I started getting very bad pain in my left ear.
Right. Okay.
And a throat infection attacked the nerves in the left ear, killing almost all of them. I think it left 2% of the hearing nerves, and it just inches from killing the equilibrium nerves, where my life was based on everything done to date, is my balance, my equilibrium. And so I became half deaf in my left ear. And there was another tack just in 2000 that then took half of the right ear. So today, as I talk to you, 2 days ago, a new digital device came. And so I'm hearing you pretty good on the cell phone, but I am a severely hearing impaired person. I'm 3/4 hearing loss, which is 1/4 of the hearing in one ear.
Okay. So how, when you discovered when the throat infection obviously had caused the ear damage, how did that affect your life going after you found that when that happened? Was it, going mentally, you must have been having perfect hearing up until you had this bad throat and it caused this problem?
Yeah, up until that time, luckily, I was already a singer, and you asked, about my childhood, and my dad was a famous country western singer and square dance caller in Minot, North Dakota, and he had the first music television show, national television show in the 1950s before we moved to California. And So music was always on, and he said as little as 2 years old, I would slap him on the legs and say, "No, Daddy, it goes like this." So, I always wanted to sing, but I didn't think that I could make it as a singer. And so, I kind of kept it in the closet, but everyone who knew me knew that I was always singing. And when I was doing gymnastics, I would go past the music room and I'd see the girl doing scales at the piano, and I always wanted to be there. My heart knew I always wanted to be singing. And that's the main thing, that the main message that as I'm this age and everything I've gone through that I want to get across is that your soul is going to tell you what you really want to do, what you really should be doing, and what will make you happy, or where now I've had this incredible success with my music since 2012, and I'm about to join the Grammys voting committee, or professional membership of the Grammys. And so by listening to what my soul was telling me, as far as my childhood, I had a very abusive childhood with my dad, and I was already struggling with a lot of other things, with the pressures. Children don't have the kind of pressure I had as a gymnast and a little champion athlete, and the pressures of I was always studying. My parents would have to tell me to get away from the table. So it was, and nobody supported me. I wasn't the gymnastics child where the parents gave up everything and came to all their meets and stuff. My dad was very abusive. I wasn't allowed to talk growing up. I wasn't allowed to sit with the family. I had to help clean with my mom. My mom was like my only friend. Right. And until I was 28, I did not have a relationship with my father. I was not allowed to speak to him. He was Bulgarian, part Bulgarian. And he was very controlling, very abusive. And I can't, everyone who went to high school with me, they know what I went through with my dad. So when I lost the hearing, I was devastated. One good thing is I could lay down and I could sleep, and it was quieter, but it already started, even though it didn't hit the equilibrium nerves, it started to affect the equilibrium nerves. I then went on to compete at a very high competitive collegiate level in gymnastics for almost 3 years. At that time, I had a fall off the balance beam and it was injured quite badly to where I could never do gymnastics again, not knowing that stunts would lay in my future. But I had a calves tendon put into my ankle in place of the ligaments. I was injured so badly that I moved home from Utah. Mm-hmm. And that's when my life changed. My brother met a stunt man who had a stunt school, and I went down there and I said, I'll give it 6 months. And if I haven't gotten my SAG card within 6 months, I'm going to go back to college, because I was 3 years of college and just short 1 year. Within 6 months to the day, I was one of the top stunt women in the world.
Well, let's we'll come back to that. So we'll take a small interim break for those who are listening. Since Marneen has a lot to talk about, and certainly has been through a lot since the time when the throat infection caused part of her hearing loss, and obviously regarding the relationship with her father, which I'm sure people who might be listening to this might be able to relate to in some way or form, might have had a similar scenario. As I say, you will be able to reach out to Marneen at the end of the show, in the show notes of the podcast, so you can maybe connect and maybe share your stories, etc. But we're going to take a small break. We will have our usual, we're going to have our standard 60-second singing tips and motivation by Benita Charles from BenitaCharles.com. Benita Charles is a singer, artist from New York. And she is fantastic. We've played some of her songs on the show in the past, and I love her music. It's great. But obviously I won't be playing her music this week because we are concentrating on Marneen, who is an artist who with her music, so you'll hear some of her tunes as the podcast goes on. But yeah, we'll be back after this. We're back after basically BENITA CHARLE'S 60-second singing tips, and we will talk about her stunt section regarding her becoming a stunt woman, and we will kind of dissect that a little bit more, and then we'll come into we'll get one of our songs up playing, and we can discuss the meaning of that, and then
right up to the point of this song, of the meaning of that first song.
Okay, well, we'll be back after, as I say, we'll take a small break, and we'll be back after this.
Hi, this is Benita Charles from BenitaCharles.com on Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders with your 60-second singing tip. Today's tip is about honing your craft. I enjoy rehearsing and practicing my voice. I love to experiment, push myself to the limit, and see what works and what doesn't work. By the time I get to the actual performance, it's second nature. I can express myself freely and focus on the message of the song. I've prepared myself for success. I encourage you to practice at whatever it is you're doing. Hone your craft, learn your industry, and sharpen your skills. That's the only way you're going to become a master at your craft. It's time to get to work. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for the next 60-second singing tips on Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders.
Okay, and welcome back to Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. As I say, my guest is Marneen Lynn Fields, all the way from LA, Los Angeles, California. Residing in Australia. Sort of a bluesy style, a bluesy kind of artist rock, a bit of a mix, but she will explain her style and music as we talk about one of her songs. But before we do one of her songs, we're going to dissect her stunt woman career. So she's not the bionic woman, but she obviously, maybe she was possibly like that. Being a stunt woman certainly takes its bumps and scrapes. So we'll find out a bit more about that. So tell us, being a stunt woman, I mean, how did that feel? What was it like being, and what was the film, what TV programs?
I was going to go into the song that was written while I was in college doing gymnastics, and right before I got hurt, there was there was a big write-up in the newspaper at Utah State about me with pictures of me on the balance beam, and I was walking through the foyer, and someone tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and I looked in a young man's face that looked just like Brad Pitt, with the long hair to the shoulders and bluest eyes you've ever seen. And he says, he's holding the newspaper article, and he says, "Is this you? I just had to meet you." And I said, "Yes, it is me." And we fell madly in love. And after I got hurt, we got separated. I had to move back home to California, and he stayed in Utah at school. He did drive from Utah to California twice to take me home with him. And I was madly in love with the boy, and Release My Love this is before I started doing any stunts. If you'd like to play Release My Love next, this song was written, I started writing broken-hearted love songs that year and it took me many years. I was well into my 40s before I got over the loss of this love of my life. And so I'm a pop rock blues artist, and Release My Love is my big hit. It's just won the Best Pop Song of the Year from Academia Awards. It's won many other awards, and it's also nominated to win the Atlas Elite Music Entertainment Award this year that'll be announced in June.
Now, and welcome back. As I say, we've just been talking to, we're not welcome back, we'll say we've had a few technical issues, but we're back and ready to rock and roll. So Marneen is about to introduce her song. So Marneen, please introduce your song.
Yes, the song is Release My Love, and it was based on a young man I met in college, and we got separated after I had an ankle surgery, and I had to move back home to Los Angeles. And I started writing broken-hearted love songs that year, and this is my big hit this year. It's just won Best Pop Song of the Year, December 2018 from the Academy Awards, and it's also nominated to win the 2019 Atlas Elite Music Entertainment Awards for Best Pop Song of the Year, and that'll be determined in June or July.
Fantastic. So we'll be back after Release My Love. And welcome back to Ramsay Unleashed, going beyond borders with my guest Marneen Lynn Fields. So that was Release My Love by Marneen, her song. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was a great song. So let's tell us about your becoming a stunt woman. So how did getting into being a stunt woman?
It's just, yeah, it's It's a miracle, and it's an amazing adventure, and just a chance of a lifetime. I was home from college with that ankle surgery, and my older brother Bobby Fields, he met a stuntman who owned a stunt school named Paul Stater, and Paul Stater was Cary Grant's double. Oh. And so my brother said he can't do those stunts. My sister can. So he sent me down there, and I joined Paul Stater's stunt school. Now, keep in mind, I had this ankle surgery, and I already had a calves tendon in place of the ligaments in my foot. And just a couple years ago, I had some problems with the foot exploding inside. Ooh. And that calves tendon is still in there, and they no longer even do calves tendons. This was done in 1976, the surgery that I had, and they now use ropes to tie the ankles back together that have ripped all the ligaments. So I went down to the stunt school, and Paul Stater recognized the champion athlete and gymnast in me. And at that time, I do believe that I was the only real advanced class 1 all-around gymnast, female gymnast, that was even doing stunts. So my career took off like, a skyrocket. I was going to return to college if it didn't work out, but within 6 months to the day, not only was I acting, but I was also getting stunt acting roles or smaller acting roles. And I had been studying acting up at Utah State, so it was perfect. And I just loved it. For 3 years, I did just stunts and stunt acting roles. But then in 1979, I met Victor French of Highway to Heaven and Little House on the Prairie, and he changed my life again. I first had the major change after the accident in college and getting into stunts. Then in 1979, I became a really serious student of acting, and Victor French handpicked me to join his elite group of actors, an actors troupe of for theater, and I became a real actress, and I just completed, just after all these years, I wrote it a lot of it years ago, but I've just published my first book on the craft of acting just within the last few weeks, the elusive craft of acting and actor's preparation process. And everyone who knows me, that knew me doing stunts, they all still thought of me as just an actress, even though I did stunts, big stunts, for 15 years. I was also doing a lot of small theater in Los Angeles, and I've gone on hundreds of auditions, and I've landed acting roles of every size, from, cameo to bit part to co-star, guest star to co-star and lead. And so I'm always acting, and I'm still acting, even though a car accident took away the stunts in 1991. I had a very bad car accident in the late 80s, and by 1991, the results of that car accident resulted in 12 years of abdominal operations. And so I was unable to ever do stunts again after the car accident. And, but I've continued to act, and excluding the years that I was having these abdominal operations, and that's when I became a singer.
Okay. Was there any famous or well-known films or TV programs that you did the stunts on?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did a lot of feature films and also primetime television. I was mostly primetime television, all of the hit TV series of the day. In 1985, I was coined Hollywood's original Fall Girl and awarded a Fall Girl license plate by J.P. Bill Ketching, who was another famous stunt director. He doubled Dennis Weaver, and he was with the Stuntmen's Association. And so I was known for my high falls, real high falls. Like I jumped off the First Interstate Bank building for a Quincy feet first without a cable. It was huge. It was, and I jumped out of a jet on Rockford Files, feet first, onto the runway as it was taxiing. I'm the girl that went off Clint Eastwood punched off the moving train in the Gauntlet. That was my big claim to fame because that was one of the most difficult stunts a young girl had ever done in 1977. I went off backwards with a half twist off a moving train, and you can get sucked back under the wheels. Very, very dangerous. And so that launched my career. And then I did a lot of Man from Atlantis. I did a lot of high dives. I did a double person high dive off the bridge in Santa Monica into 6 feet of shallow water. And I did a dive out of a helicopter into a swimming pool to save Patrick Duffy on Man from Atlantis. And I mean, I had this amazing gymnastics talent. And even though I did a little bit in Cars or whatever, I was the fall girl. I did high falls and pratfalls and fight scenes. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. And then I also got stunt acting roles until the mid-'80s. Then in the mid-'80s, I started getting known as a serious actress coming off theater and the training with Victor French. And then I started landing roles. I landed a very large co-star role in a film that really didn't get seen that could have launched my career, and that was called Hellhole. I played the insanity victim that receives the chemical lobotomy from Mary Warnov. And I was up for stuff. I almost landed a reoccurring role on Santa Barbara as the hooker Mika. And I was taken to the producers with just one other girl on like 4 or 5 different occasions. And each time I got beat out. So, there were life-changing moments there, but now they're there, and my career is bigger than ever before. Today, I'm in an amazing spot after all this loss, and, it's really very exciting. But a few more of I did Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. I did the fight with Freddy on the floor with his long fingernails and the run across the catwalk when it broke away to the hang from the bar. I had a guest starring role on Scarecrow Mrs. King as Artillery Dorothy, who gets blown up and shot down by fighter pilots running through a minefield. Bruce Boxleitner's girlfriend. And I've got scenes with these are some of the acting roles. Jeff Goldblum on Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I'm the girl he teaches to sing in the choir. And I'm the girl that Dick Van Dyke carries down through the House of Fire, the sick nun on Stanley Kramer's A Runner Stumbles, and Stanley Kramer casts me himself. I'm the derailing train passenger whose seat catches fire in Irwin Allen's The Swarm. And he asked for me back to double Shirley Jones on the Poseidon Adventure. I did all the underwater scuba work. I'm an advanced certified scuba diver. Wow. And I was the first woman photographed to do the Man from Atlantis swim.
Wow, that's impressive. That is impressive. As I say, impressive resume, to say the least.
I worked on 150 film and TV shows.
That is, especially a lot of them, obviously, with big actors, big names. In big films, and I have to say, what was it? Being blown up. That can't have been.
It's amazing. And this weekend, just today, if you go to my wall, and I meant to tag you, they've done an article for the Oscar weekend, Santa Monica Daily Press, and they asked my opinion on the Oscar issue of stunt players not getting an Academy Award, and they only interviewed 2 people for the article, and I'm one of them. So that's interesting. Yeah, I guess 3 people were 2 men and myself. But I wanted to say this brings us to the second song, Standing Ovation, You're the Star, about an actor who breaks a young starlet's heart, a tyrannical actor, theatrical tyrant who breaks a young starlet's heart.
Okay, well, do you want to? We'll tie into that. I mean, as I say, I think I'm kind of, pardon the pun, blown away regarding with all the amazing films and the talent you've been working with by being a stuntwoman. And it's a shame due to the accident which sadly came to an end. But obviously, by something coming to an end, it's obviously it's a plan in your life that's now taking you to bigger heights and bigger.
Yes, and that's stunt woman and actress. I was very, and still am, a very serious actress and highly trained in the craft of acting. So I always need to mention that, yes, and I had the gymnastics talent, but I was everyone thought I would be the next Sissy Spacek. Everybody thought I'm destined to be, after they saw Hellhole and some of my guest star roles, they were sure, but then right at the height of my acting, just ready I made page 3 of Star magazine, and no stunt girl had. I landed this big co-star role. No stunt girl had ever come from the pure stunt arena to really start to be recognized as a lead, an actress at my caliber. And then I lost everything overnight from this horrible car accident, which again, fighting for my life under devastating and tragic situations and having to learn to reinvent myself and readapt, and I never thought I'd get on my feet. It took me a year to walk again. And then after each of the abdominal surgeries, I couldn't walk. And I lived in heights of screaming pain. I would stand in the doorway for 12 years. I was screaming in pain. I never thought I would live. I never thought I would do anything ever again. And what I did each day is I got up and I crawled to my microphone.
Okay, so we're going to introduce your song, the next one you just mentioned, and I'll let you introduce that, and we'll come back to you. We'll come back after the song.
Okay. That's Standing Ovation, You're the Star, and it was 2018 Atlas Elite Music Entertainment Awards Best Pop Song of the Year nomination, and it was produced by Steve Valenzuela, who is a gold record recipient on Kelly Clarkson's Greatest Hits Volume 1 and the sound engineer on her song Catch My Breath.
Well, here is Standing Ovation by Marneen Lynn. We'll be back after this.
Now my love, toss me your rose.
Hi, this is Afialitha from KingdomBeats.com. Proud to be a sponsor of Ramsay Unleashed, going beyond borders.
And welcome back to Ramsay Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. All the way, we're coming to you from, I'm coming from Scotland with my guest, Marneen Lynn, who is currently in Los Angeles, California. But as I say, have the Australian connection due to her husband is Australian. So we've just, I hope you enjoyed that song. Great. And I'm just in awe of from her background regarding stunt and how what she's come through. It's like, wow, it's like you could not really make it up. It's like you could not make any of that. I mean, I think the thing it just catches, I don't know why, it's just being blown up. It just makes me laugh. Oh, you're doing a stunt. This is your part. You're going to be blown up. Fabulous. So it's kind of it's brilliant. It's exciting. It's been exciting to listen to the people that you've worked with, and just how this song has came about. We've just listened to, and how. So let's go through this. You've obviously, with the tragic car accident and the surgeries you've had to go through, and having to learn to walk again, learn to go through the pain. I mean, that must have taken some fight, to knowing obviously you had a singing background, you were able to sing, to drag yourself to a microphone. I mean, the psychological part of that must have been very, very difficult.
Yeah, I never, what it did is, my brothers would make fun of me. She's sitting on her bed learning all these songs. And, but the thing is that I wanted to sing, and I always wanted to sing. And it was the pain. I wouldn't wish the pain on anyone, no matter what. I couldn't get rid of the pain. It was excruciating, screaming pain. I got hit by a truck at over 50 miles an hour. It's a miracle I'm alive. But see, I was a strong little gymnast stunt woman, and my body, I was solid rock, and I was somehow able to survive this massive hit, and my car was cut in half. And where other people, then they said that the paramedics were slapping my face in the ambulance and saying, "You're lucky you're alive. People don't live in broadside hits where it takes half the car off." And he hit me right on the driver's door. Okay. So all that nerve and muscle was ripped from the left side of the body. I couldn't hang laundry. I couldn't turn my head to the left, a champion gymnast. And I would get on my knees and I would crawl. My back was so injured and so weak. And when I'd move, I had to move sometimes. I would push boxes with my feet. I'd just sit on the ground and push them a little bit till I could get it where I needed it in my apartment. And I was very isolated. The phone went from ringing off the hook for 15 years in high demand. And it's one night overnight now, it has stopped ringing, and I'm completely alone. I have no one except my mother, my beautiful mother. And I can barely even talk about it. It was so I became completely. It's like there's a movie out and they have a lot of pins in their head, the pinheads.
Yeah.
And they talk about if you can get past the pain, you can find pleasure. Well, when you go through what I've gone through, you become incredibly non-competitive. You reach a level of peace where other things that other people are fighting for, you are very fragile, yes, and that's helped my music tremendously, and also helped me with compassion and what I'll do for other people. Because you lose when you look up and I had 5 stomach operations where they cut for a cesarean, only no baby came out. There were 19 tumors and cysts removed, and I would get home from the hospital almost dead and staples in my stomach. And you look down and you're just humiliated. You just feel like you're worthless. You lose all ego, and And so to think that I've healed and come from that, when I first started to try to sing again out in public, I could only do one song and I would collapse. That's how weak, it was, you can't go through something like this. It takes years, and I'm still, and then again, fighting for my life. I've always felt like I've had to fight for my life. So then I've worked 10 times harder than the other person because I've always been aware that my life could be ending. And, but the last surgery was in 1999, and I came home from the hospital, and I didn't talk to anyone, and I took a taxi. I was too embarrassed to have anyone have to know that I'd had the 5th operation. And I got into my apartment, and I fell feet first onto the ground, face first, and all of a sudden I was sure I was dead. There was nothing left of me. And a friend had told me that the only person that could heal was Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And I fell to my face, and I started just begging Jesus Christ for my life, that I didn't want to die. And I felt that since a priest has told me when you're under extreme emotional duress and that kind of heights of pain, you can hallucinate. Well, I swear something appeared before me, and I saw a pair of sandals, and I started to kiss the ground. And I felt a hand come from spirit and touch me on the shoulder. And from that day, I got stronger. And I said, Jesus Christ healed me. And people say Jesus Christ isn't the one who heals, maybe an angel. Well, all I know is praying with all my heart. Please, I don't want to die. Please. And I had not been baptized. Mm-hmm. So I got to church to find out who Jesus Christ was. I had never been in a church as a young child, and I look at all the darkness, the stunts, the surgeries, the accident. And so I got baptized, and Jesus Christ saved my life. And at that time, my mom had ran away. She had had a surgery where a tumor was removed, and she lost blood flow to the brain, and they pumped her heart.
Right.
So 2 weeks after my baptism, or right around, my mom was found under a different name and diagnosed with schizophrenia, dementia, and Alzheimer's. So I was able to bring her home to safety and care for her for 13 years. And when Ruby was found, we didn't think I would live. And she was almost dying. And she had lost her sight and gone almost completely blind because she had lymphoma in the brain up above her eye. And she also had breast cancer. So when Ruby was found, there was a lot of stress in the family and a lot of worry about Ruby. And I had just overcome these 12 years and major operations. And I collapsed, got sick again, and lost the other half of the hearing in my right ear. Right. Just as I moved Ruby in, the week I moved Ruby in. So Ruby and I have a real strong calling. And here I was, almost completely deaf, and there she was, almost completely blind. And she did go completely blind before she died. I cared for her 13 years, and I've written her script, and I want to try and sell her story. I've had a lot of reads on Ruby's script. It was important for me when Ruby was found to write Ruby's story because hers was 10 times worse than mine was. And she was so special and just wonderful.
So that's cool. I'm listening. It's also how. I'm always like lost for words. I want to ask you next because it's what to go through all that is, and how you couldn't imagine it on anybody at all.
Yeah, just, I'm really strong. There's something about me that they say God won't give you anything you can't handle. And, I do know this, that I can't be broken by any circumstances after everything that's happened. I have such a strong faith, but I can tell you, before Ruby was found, my place was drenched in holy water. There was Eucharist everywhere. And, I am of God. I found God, and finding God and just that the whole experience, no one will take that from me. No one will ever take what I have learned spiritually. Mm-hmm. And so if I meet a real bad person that tries to mess with me, because what people do is they'll try to mess with you, and then they'll try to say, oh, you're not really the good Christian or whatever you claim to be. But you know what, Ramsay, I really am. Mm-hmm. I really am the good Christian I claim to be. And I really take my faith very, very seriously. And it changed everything. And now the blessings I'm receiving, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And I'm not going to, no matter what my age, I've come into a position of leadership. I'm going to stand strong. I'm not going to browbeat other people. Other people don't have to if they don't want to. Everyone has a right to free choice and free beliefs and all of that. But I'm like every day, wow, I'm standing. Mm-hmm. I've started a group on Facebook, Share Your Miraculous Story of God's Healing Powers, of God's miraculous healing powers. And I'm witness to miraculous healing powers. And so was Ruby. Ruby became cancer-free for 13 years before she died.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. Cancer is a horrible.
Everyone wants to be looking at it looking at their life negatively. There's survival here that needs to be just praise God.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Well, so once we'll go into a bit more into your music. You're obviously the now after Ruby passing and. With everything going on, with losing part of your hearing in the other ear as well. So, what was the next kind of stage from there? You obviously you're going to redevelop your health again. You're after falling ill again, and how did the recovery process? Was it quite quick? And then, what was your next step from there with the music side of things?
Well, once Ruby was found, everything was perfect. She was my family, and my brothers, they were busy with their lives and their wives and their children. They didn't really want to be involved with Ruby, and nobody was able to handle her homelessness. Even people at the church gave her bad looks when she'd show up. Ruby had it really bad, and Ruby was gorgeous, and she was sweet, and she was wonderful. Well, Ruby and I bought a little townhouse, and I had been writing in the in the 80s and studying script writing and all of this, but every time I would sit down to write, I would want to sing. So after I had started going through the surgeries, I went back to school. I, got very educated with my script writing and also as a composer of pop songs and a lyricist, and at Berklee School of Music studied music theory and lyric writing and all of this. And so I started a lot of compositions those years, and I got a little keyboard and everything. Then when Ruby was found, we moved, and I lined the wall with boxes that had my writing project. There was a ton of them, and they were all unfinished. And I went, but see, you can see you started them, then you had the surgeries, and you lost consciousness, and then you tried to get back up on your feet. And I also lost part of my right thigh to melanoma those years, and had a very difficult time walking again. My legs were always being taken from me. Mm-hmm. So I recognized that I had these songs, and I had these scripts and these different writing things, like the acting book that I just published. And I started getting serious. One day I had heard about Joseph, Jesus's father, was the worker. And if you pray to him, because I've started going to both Lutheran and Catholic and Christian, and I still go to all different churches and have different, I listen to all different ministers, and I like that. I love a Catholic Mass, and I usually go every Sunday, but then I also listen to ministers on TV, because I feel anyone who's been anointed, they have something to say, and they're brilliant, and I get so much out of, no matter what religious service I'm in, I get so much out of it. It lifts my spirit, and it's just great. And so when I was in college, right at the end of high school, one day I was in the cafeteria and I heard Elton John's Your Song, and it changed my life. It was like the most beautiful song I've ever heard, and this is what opens my book, is Elton John's Your Song stopping me in my tracks and being the most beautiful song I'd ever heard. So when I was in college, I would pick Elton John type piano music for my gymnastics, and you do floor exercise to piano or one instrument. And so here it is now. Ruby's been found, and I've been asked by a guy on Facebook named David Palfreyman if I will record one of his songs. And so I picked one of his songs. It was called Afraid of the Morning, and I changed it into Shadows. I restructured it and rewrote the melody line and used his music, and we collaborated. And he still has Afraid of the Morning, but it's a different, like, kind of punk rock, and I turned it into a bluesy hit. Well, wouldn't you know that Stuart Epps of early Elton John and Led Zeppelin fame, he stepped in to produce it. And so here now, my dream has come true 40 years later or 30 years later of Elton John. And now I have his original record producer producing me. Wow. And so yeah, Stuart Epps did Elton John and Led Zeppelin and George Harrison, but it was mainly Led Zeppelin and Elton John, but mainly Elton John. And so now Marneen Lynn Fields sits in that category, and my life's a dream in so many ways. And so the suffering or whatever took place, it's not significant. What's significant are the blessings, because there's been so many. Mm-hmm. And so, I started doing the songs, and then the songs started winning awards, and I've won 26 awards for my songs, my script writing, my acting, and my stunt work. And last August, I was awarded a legendary stunt award, Legendary Stunt Woman of the Year award from the International Action on Film Festival for my lifetime contributions in film. And so it's just great. And then if I bring you into the next song with all of that, because I'm kind of like I've told you everything now.
the Inkla one, that one you're going to talk about, the Inkla one.
What's that? Yeah, yes, that's I'll Never Kiss His Lips Again. And it's a song written for suicide prevention. Wow. It won the LANFA, L-A-N-F-A, Nollywood Awards Best Single of the Year in 2018. And the song has a very special place in my heart. When I was in high school, my very first boyfriend at 16 years old, he shot himself in his mid-30s. He became a policeman, and I adored this boy in high school. Junior high school actually is when we met, and we were together 1 year in high school, and he was just the most wonderful, talented basketball player. Then I met another man when I started composing and singing in 1991, and his name was Greg Leslie, and he was a guitarist, and he died overnight suddenly in a plane crash. And then there was another man that I had met that I was in my 20s, and he got in his Porsche one night, ran a red light, and died suddenly. And I had just barely known this gentleman, but he was so nice to me. So I'll Never Kiss His Lips Again is a combination. You listen to it, and it's written for a tormented poet who commits suicide. Every one of my songs and my scripts, most of them have a charity focus, because I would like to, if they did ever become successful, it would certainly be more than enough money, more money than I've ever had. And, I don't need that much. So I would love a charity focus on those. But the first boy, John, he, that was spelled Jon, he wrote me poetry. And so he's partially based on that. And then my husband, John Harrison, he helped me. One day I was stumped on just a few of the lyrics, and I was like, man. So I messaged John, and I said, could you please help? Because he's a really amazing writer, John Harrison. Mm-hmm. And he stepped in, and within minutes, he helped me complete the song that I've been working on for years with the lyrics. So John is a co-lyricist on I'll Never Kiss His Lips Again.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, let's say, what we'll do is you want to introduce the song? We'll play that, and then we can we'll maybe find out where people can connect with you after that. And just anything goals you have for the next, what you want to do for going forward, and to people what you're aiming for, basically. So I'll let you introduce this song.
Yeah, I'll Never Kiss His Lips Again. It's a very dramatic song. It's a pop blues song about a tormented poet who commits suicide, and I hope you like it.
Okay, we're back after this.
Then I'm praying.
and welcome back to Ramsay Unleashed Going Beyond Borders. That was Never Kiss Again, one of the songs of Marneen. I just want to give a shout out to our supporters of our show. We have EileenSmith.com, it's ILEANE, EileenSmith.com. She does a YouTube channel. She does a lot of live stream testing, so if you're ever looking for platforms regarding podcasting, live streaming through like YouTube or whatever, you can check out her channel and her website and for finding any information if you're interested in learning some stuff or wanting to start a podcast. There's also the Guy R Cook Report, who does the Guy R Cook Report podcast. He does general B2B chats and SEO tips, and his podcasts are no more than 5 to 10 minutes long. We have John Drummond, who is based in Edinburgh, Scotland. He does from ideasgolive.com. He's a web designer. He's done my website. I also want to shout out to Curtis Brooks Media Productions, who is a recent supporter of our show. BrentMannMusic.com, from Brent Mann all the way from Canada, but lives in Tampa, Florida, a country gospel artist supporting us, and we thank you for that. Also we've got Shannon Griffin, who is a breast cancer survivor who set up For Humanities t-shirt company in California and does a lot of creating, does a bit of graphics as well. So thank you for all these people who support us. It is fantastic. And obviously myself, obviously my own business is a cleaning business, edinburghdusters.co.uk. If you're looking for some cleaning services, I'll happily be able to help in a free quote. But yeah, so as I say, thank you for all our supporters, but plus the main one, our sponsor, is kingdombeads.com by Aoife Leatham. We thank you for her, and please check out the website kingdombeads.com. If you like what you see, please make a purchase or design your own if you fancy it. So thank you for that. So we're now going to be back with Marneen. We're going to wrap up the show. As I say, I've been extremely challenged by the journey that she's been on, from somebody who technically should not be here, with what she has gone through regarding health, car crash, operations. Technically she should not be standing, but a miracle. I'm going to quote Brent Mann: God sees big and he's still making miracles. Whether you believe that or not, Marneen is obviously a miracle, a walking miracle in this case, due to what she has gone through. And we thankful. Well, she's a testimony to many of what she has gone through to others who are around the world, and through her just the amazing story of being a stunt woman, her acting, and how her career changed to music, and how she went through a bit of abuse from her father, her kids, her brothers teasing her, but she has obviously just fought very, very hard, and she's almost like the Joseph of the Bible, when Joseph, basically his brothers are serving him, and she is almost the one that's now the master. Almost, she is the one that's in control, because she has risen from the depths of almost having nothing left, but to becoming something amazing. And we're so grateful for that, because it's been we cannot imagine what she has gone through. So Marneen, tell us, what are your goals? Have you got a goal for the next 5-10 years, or what do you see yourself doing going forward? Have you got any big projects coming up, or anything going on?
Well, that is really a great question, and I just want to say that this has just been a wonderful interview, to be able to reach deep inside myself, and I've shared with you and your audience things I've never told anyone before. And so I thank you for that, and it's really great. My number one goal is I want to do the greatest work of my career yet, and I feel my finest day is yet unknown. My mother's script, it's been titled The Lost and Found Gem, because her name is Ruby, and I may or may not keep that title. I have another title in mind. It's about her running away, becoming a homeless street person, and living on the street for nearly 9 years, not knowing her name, battling schizophrenia, multiple cancers, and just everything horrible that you can even imagine, until she's found through a missing persons report that I filed the day she turned up missing and brought home to safety. And our reuniting with her and finding her and bringing her home to safety to care for her, this was our greatest story. Ruby and I told each other this story every day. We loved it. It was the best story ever because we lived it. And, so I'm hoping to inspire the millions of mentally ill who are homeless and their families with Ruby's story. I would love to start a charity in Ruby's name in the ideal situation where people could meet someone like Ruby, because I was her only friend and she was my best friend. And you've never met anyone like Ruby. She was so sweet and just an amazing listener and just an amazing, brilliant, talented, beautiful, clean, immaculate, organized, the best cook. It had it all. Mm-hmm. And to think that, this would happen to her after a surgery, losing blood flow to the brain, to where they then diagnose, I still debate it wasn't schizophrenia. She lost blood flow to the brain, but she didn't know, and this is a horrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it. Ruby did not know to pull her pants up in the middle of a road. Right, this is how serious. That's serious. And you don't wish that on anyone. Yeah. And it's I don't know any other description to say other than what I would witness on a daily basis. So that's the number one goal. And then I'll Never Kiss His Lips Again is an important work for suicide prevention, in memory of, these young men I knew and how their lives were taken so quickly. Now, even though the other two weren't necessarily suicide, they still had the conception of I'll never kiss his lips again. Okay. The song is very spiritual in nature and deals a lot. I mean, some people have even referred to it that it could go a gospel way because of that. But the one man who drove his car through the red light with the Porsche, he was a speed demon. And so that was, kind of a suicide. And I'm getting ready to produce a music video of that. And so, I just want to do real high quality work that has depth now. Mm-hmm.
Do you see, just to touch on the story with Ruby, do you see that being a film or maybe a stage type of show in some way or form, story told?
Ruby's script?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, that's a film.
Would you want to see a film? I'd love to actually. Yes. I'd love to be able to. You've obviously got a lot of contacts with your acting. I'd actually love to be able to introduce you to a friend of mine who I managed to catch. I was able to see when I was in Florida last year on holiday. Obviously, I managed to meet Brent Mann in person. He flew over from Tampa to Fort Lauderdale, and we hung out for the day. It was great. It was great fun hanging out and meeting him after knowing him for so many years online. But also I met my friend Sevilla Morgan, who I've known for a long time, and her name's Tachi. She's a media professor and lives in Fort Lauderdale, and she does things like talk shows and directs them and things. And maybe I'd love to be able to connect you two up, if that's okay. Because
yes, and see, the film has had 15 reads and big reads from like Dustin Hoffman's ex-manager and Jessica Simpson's Papa Joe's, Michelle Lee, wow. And I've been very close to selling it. It is an amazing script, and I want to sell it this year, and I want to, I'm going to produce the trailer and then try to sell it, because I want I want to see this, some people say it'd be a great movie of the week, but this is a real life horror story, and I've written it that way. And Ruby helped write it. Ruby is a co-writer on her own story, which is, you don't hear that often, and this is someone who really lived that. And so it's a very important work, and I want to make sure that it gets the value and the exposure that it deserves, because the goal is to help millions with it.
Yeah.
And I became her guardian. I became a guardian to one, and the power I received spiritually, becoming a guardian to one homeless person and bringing them home to safety. I can't even describe to anyone what that did to me spiritually. And if I could become a guardian to millions with her story, then when on my last breath, it's not going to matter if there was darkness. It'll be light everywhere, because I will have done the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people are missing out on. So many people want to be bad, and they want to do bad things to other people, or they want to betray them, or they want to, cause problems. No, we're supposed to be here to do what's right for other people and towards other people. And if you're doing that, you're going to pay off any bad karma or bad debts of any bad that was done. And then when on your last breath, there's just going to be skyrockets of fireworks going off of that you did the right thing. And then that soul is going to land where it should land, at least where I want my soul to land on my last breath. And no one on this earth is worth taking that from any individual. No one, whether it is a husband or a friend or anybody messing with you, if that person is messing with you and they're going to be dishonest and they're going to be disloyal and they're going to be nasty and they're going to be playing dirty tricks, I don't want anything to do with them, because my goal is to please God at the end of my life with what I'm doing.
Amen to that. But I love, as I say, I love to be able to introduce you to Tachi, just as a connection she is, and you can. I think I enjoy connecting people in a similar sort of industry, or you maybe be able to just having that conversation might be a connection.
Well, I'm really looking for the money people for the film. I'm absolutely looking for that. I'm looking for the executive producer that is going to take this film with me, and I will still be I won't be the film director, but the theatrical director. Okay. I still want my vision coming forward, so I have strong goals, and so I'm definitely open to making contacts, and I've almost finished the final draft, and it will be ready to pitch just within weeks of.
I'd love to be able to connect you with people anyway, just people who a couple of people who, like a person I know called Tony Henderson Myers, who does a lot of stuff regarding Broadway. He runs 2 businesses and does a bit of TV stuff as well. She's in North Carolina, but does a lot of stuff in Broadway, New York. As I say, there's Tachi.
I have other Broadway things she could be interested in.
There we go. It's a small world.
I have other things I've written that could be good for Broadway. Ruby's film wouldn't really be good for Broadway, but it's more of a feature film.
Cool.
I'd love it to be a feature film, but other people say movie of the week. I say, well, let it go to TV after it's been released as a film.
There we go.
And
I'll connect you with these people after we've done the show, and we can you can, as I say, I'll let you have a conversation with them and chat away, and maybe you might be able to help each other down the line. That'd be great. As I say, it's always good to make connections, and it's all about helping each other. That's what counts. And if it creates something new, fantastic. That's what's the good thing about connecting. And you'll like Tony is fantastic. She's got her platform like Wise Courtship and things. And Tachi, as I say, is a media professor who resides in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but does a lot of shows and stuff. And she's very good at what she does as well. So I'll introduce you to them late after the show. But I want to say thank you, and thank you for being on the show, and thank you for everything.
Thank you.
So I want you to go and give us a quick closing message and what you would like to say to people.
Well, I guess the main thing is if anybody wants to check out my background and my credit in film and television, they can find me under Marneen Fields on the IMDb. And then I've got some really great videos up on Vimeo under the Marneen Lynn Fields. And I prefer the Vimeo videos than the YouTube because the quality is so much better on Vimeo. Mm-hmm. And then I have a website that is, I'm developing it now, but it is up, and they can find out a lot and see a lot, is heavenlywaterfallproductions.com. Mm-hmm. They can see, everything. Oh, it's just great. The website is amazing, and they can sign up for a free download. And they put them on my mailing list, and they can get a free download. And it's also a place where people can make donations or dip into for sponsorships and this sort of thing. And then my music website is marneenlynfields.com. And on the music website, they can see thumbnails of the 100 shows that I've appeared in as a live performer. And they can also hear songs. There's a bunch of the award-winning songs up that they can play, and again, sign up if they want to. And then my CD Baby store is up, and there's a lot of I have a new CD that just came out yesterday, which is a compilation of award-winning songs, all the number ones, and so that's available on CD Baby. I guess that's about it.
There we go. We'll have all these links on the show notes of the podcast, and if you listen to it, you can check out. You'll be able to see where you can connect with Marneen and see all the stuff that she's done, and listen to her music, and purchase some music as well if you like it. Like the tunes on the podcast, you'll be able to hopefully go and buy her music and have it on your iPhone and listen to it if you're on the go. So thank you, Marneen. Thank you for
thank you very much
being a part of the Ramsay Unleashed Going Beyond Borders show. It's certainly been an eye opener for me. And a thank you for Brent Mann from BrentMannMusic.com for basically connecting us. It's been a pleasure, and wow, you've been through so much. You could not make it up, and how you're standing for that a miracle reason. You're still going, and wow, and as Brent Mann always says, God sees big, and he's still making miracles. We'll wrap it up there. Everybody, thank you for listening, and tune into the next podcast coming soon. And we'll wrap it up from there. Take it easy. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have a great day.